Yo, what's up everybody? Hassan Minhaj here. Today we're diving deep into the Korean War, a conflict that seems like ancient history but has shaped the world we live in. It all started with a simple line on a map, the 38th parallel. After World War II, Korea, previously under Japanese rule, was divided. The Soviet Union backed a communist government in the north, led by Kim Il-sung. The United States supported a capitalist government in the south, led by Syngman Rhee. Imagine drawing a line through your neighborhood and saying, okay, everyone on this side is communist and everyone on that side is capitalist. Talk about awkward Thanksgiving dinners, am I right? But it wasn't just about different economic systems. It was about two completely different ideologies vying for control. The North, under Kim Il-sung, promoted a personality cult and a centralized authoritarian state. The South, under Syngman Rhee, while flawed, leaned towards democracy and a market economy. This division, this arbitrary line in the sand, set the stage for one of the hottest conflicts of the Cold War. Both sides believed in their system, and both sides were ready to fight for it. And fight they did. On June 25, 1950, the Korean War exploded onto the world stage. June 25, 1950, 4 a.m. North Korean forces, armed with Soviet tanks and artillery, smashed across the 38th parallel. This wasn't a border skirmish, this was a full-blown invasion. The North Korean People's Army caught the South Korean army completely off guard. Seoul, the capital of South Korea, fell to the communists in just 3 days. The speed and ferocity of the North Korean advance shocked the world. The US and its allies were caught flat-footed. They had underestimated Kim Il-sung's ambitions and the capabilities of the North Korean military. The invasion of South Korea was a wake-up call. It was a stark reminder that the Cold War could easily turn hot. The United Nations, still in its infancy, condemned the invasion and called for an immediate ceasefire. With the Soviet Union boycotting the UN Security Council in protest, the US was able to secure a resolution authorizing military intervention. This was a defining moment for the young organization. It marked the first time the UN would use military force to try and restore peace. A multinational force, led by the United States, was assembled to push back the North Korean advance. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen from over 20 countries answered the call, standing shoulder to shoulder with their South Korean allies. The Korean War became a truly international conflict, a testament to the global stakes of the Cold War. By September 1950, North Korean forces had pushed the South Korean and UN troops to the southeastern corner of the Korean Peninsula, a small pocket of territory around the city of Busan. It was a desperate situation, but then came a daring and brilliant counterstroke, the Battle of Inchon. General Douglas MacArthur, the flamboyant and often controversial commander of UN forces, planned an amphibious landing at Inchon, a port city far behind enemy lines. The landing, which took place on September 15, 1950, was a stunning success. The North Korean forces, caught completely by surprise, were routed. Inchon cut the North Korean supply lines and forced them into a chaotic retreat. It was a turning point in the war, shifting the momentum back in favor of the UN and South Korea. Section 5. A bloody stalemate. Back and forth on the 38th parallel. The victory at Inchon emboldened the UN and South Korean forces. They pushed north, crossing the 38th parallel and advancing deep into North Korea. The goal was to reunify the peninsula under a democratic government. However, the war was far from over. As UN forces approached the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China, a new player entered the conflict. The People's Republic of China. Hundreds of thousands of Chinese troops flooded across the border, launching a massive counteroffensive. The UN forces were caught off guard and were forced to retreat back south. The war settled into a brutal stalemate around the 38th parallel, with neither side able to achieve a decisive victory. For the next 2 years, the two sides clashed in a series of bloody battles, with neither side gaining a significant advantage. Section 6. The human cost of war, casualties and devastation. The Korean War was a horrifically destructive conflict. Millions of people, both soldiers and civilians, lost their lives. The exact number of casualties is still debated, but estimates range from 2.5 to 5 million. The war left the Korean Peninsula in ruins. Cities and villages were reduced to rubble. Families were torn apart. The physical and psychological scars of the war would linger for generations. The war also had a profound impact on the global stage. It intensified the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. It also highlighted the human cost of ideological conflicts and the devastating consequences of proxy wars. Section 7. Cold War chessboard. Korea as a proxy conflict. The Korean War wasn't just a fight between two Koreas. It was a proxy war, a battleground where the United States and the Soviet Union, the two superpowers of the Cold War, clashed indirectly. The US saw the invasion of South Korea as an act of communist aggression orchestrated by Moscow. They were determined to contain the spread of communism, fearing a domino effect that could topple other nations in Asia. The Soviet Union, for its part, saw an opportunity to expand its influence in the region. They supplied North Korea with weapons, training, and logistical support. The Korean War became a testing ground for new military technologies and tactics, with both sides eager to prove their superiority. Section 8. An unfinished chapter, the Armistice and Its Legacy. After 2 years of brutal fighting and countless lives lost, an armistice agreement was finally signed on July 27, 1953. The agreement ended the fighting, but it did not officially end the war. A demilitarized zone, or DMZ, was established along the 38th parallel, separating the two Koreas. To this day, no peace treaty has ever been signed. The Korean War, while technically over, remains an open wound on the Korean Peninsula. The legacy of the Korean War continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of East Asia. The Korean Peninsula remains divided, with North Korea under the rule of Kim Jong-un, a nuclear-armed and isolated state. The South, a vibrant democracy and economic powerhouse, stands as a stark contrast to its northern neighbor. The Korean War serves as a reminder of the human cost of division, the dangers of ideological extremism, and the enduring legacy of the Cold War.